We are celebrating one of the greatest preachers of all time. It just happens that he is somebody who has been, as it were, virtually a part of my early life as a priest. Why? Because I was ordained in the cathedral where he was around, Siena, and after ordination I was sent on a regular basis up to the mountain opposite our own to minister on a Sunday, and we had there the major relics of him, because that's where he was ordained and where he started his life. And therefore I couldn't but be aware. Indeed, the mayor of the area wanted me to give a lecture on him in the area, as on St Catherine of Siena, the other local big saint. And so that meant a certain amount of homework. Unpacked the depth of this hidden saint, hidden until about 1427, when they discovered that he had a gift. It's rather like it happened in the case of St Anthony of Padua, also a Franciscan. They discovered by chance that he had a fantastic gift of the word. So, as a result, he went round the whole of Italy except one area, the Kingdom of Naples. And he had a charism so powerful that on 3 occasions they wanted him to be bishop. It was in his own area of Siena, Archbishop of Siena. It was in Ferrara, and it was in Urbino. And each time he said, no, my vocation is to preach. For the same reason, he would not hear confessions, because that would have meant being confined to the confession box. And his word was something which, wherever he went, had an effect on souls, and he felt it should not be stopped. It wasn't his own work. All he did was collaborate. He was actually fairly weak, and you can see that in the icons and images of him that we have, which are true to nature because he was painted while he was alive. And when he was young, his voice was actually fairly weak. So, because he was being asked to preach before hundreds and hundreds of people, even thousands, he found a way of making it heard, possibly with divine help, but in those days it had to be done with a natural voice. There were no other means. And so he was able to make his voice projected into the farthest corner, usually outside church, because the churches weren't big enough. And when he was coming to town, they would be already seated in their places outside for 2 hours before. In our area in Siena, where the palio takes place now, where the horses go around, the men on that side and the women there already waiting for the word. And he would come and he would start. And he would go on for at least 2 hours, but he could go on for more. And we know of more or less what he was saying, because in Siena there was a person there who was an expert at taking his own homemade shorthand. And then we can actually work out what was being said and how well it was being said. It was always theologically correct, therefore the truth was being given, but it was always enjoyable. And we know some of the tricks that he had. He would go into acting things, mimicking things, dramatizing things in such a way that there was never a dull moment. And we had actually some of his sermons read in the refectory in Italy where we were, and they were like that. And they were hard truths made easy to listen to. And one can see that in a time when there wasn't television or much going on, someone like that would attract crowds. So, it was in the last period of his life that he was too weak anymore to walk these big distances, and he would go on a beast of burden, a mule or a donkey. And in the last years of his life, he would always go accompanied by another brother of his order, Brother Vincent. And we know from something that leaked out that he was sworn to secrecy, and that he couldn't reveal what he knew about the saint, that by the end he knew inside and out. Obviously, there were mystical gifts which he wasn't allowed to divulge, and that would make sense. One can certainly see that he was very severe. You can see that from the emaciated face that he had. But what we do see, even now to this day, is the physical effect of his preaching. This, where everyone goes in Tuscany, one sees this. Still over the doors. It's the monogram of the Holy Name. And what it is, basically, is the classic form which looks to us like IHS, but actually is iota, eta, long E in Greek, and sigma. The Holy Name's essential ingredients, Jesus in Greek, which you find also on other things all over the church to this day. Tabernacles, hosts, even actually the papal emblem, because the Holy Father is a Jesuit, and the Jesuits have it too. That's their emblem, the Holy Name in a similar form. It's on the front and back of this one actually. It's typical of what you find still all over the church. Jesus is the centre, and in this it's proclaimed the centre, the rays, rather as in the monstrance, coming from the centre. Now there's a reason for this. People need audio-visual things. People see things and remember them. And he would hold this and he would insist on the centrality of the Holy Name. And there's a reason for that. In Tuscany, and actually it's still there by instinct, the Holy Name is used to make a point. Unfortunately, the Holy Name of Mary also is, usually in some nasty form of Madonna, but they put words with it which make it really nasty, a real insult. And it's the maximum, because they know it's not right, but they do it when they're really in a temper. And so Our Lady gets it too. And it's, for some reason, a speciality of Tuscany, where he was. But it's also around in Catholic culture in other countries, including Ireland. The Holy Name is used in Ireland, often in a toned-down form, as are other swear words of vulgar things, toned down, but it's essentially the same abuse of language. And he was trying to eradicate it and to indicate how grave it was. Words are not just movements of molecules in the air. They are also things written indelibly in history. And on our copybook, which one day we will open, the Book of Life will contain many details, my friends, and our words are not forgotten. In Matthew chapter 12, verse 36, there's one verse which people tend to forget, that we will have to answer for every idle word. Now, if a swear word is not idle, tell me what is. And it's incompatible with opening our mouth and extending our tongue to be the throne of Jesus Christ, Lord of glory, and then to use that tongue to insult him, wound him, and use him as a punctuation mark. It's lazy, elusive language, and it's a language form which actually shows what we are. We can't be serious enough about our Christian life to, as it were, not see how incongruent it is to have one sector for our daily life and one for praise. It just doesn't make sense. One doesn't abuse one's best friend. It also shows that one is not a person of culture. It's a lazy use of language because we can't think of anything more energetic. It's far better, even culturally, to think of a way of saying things which actually is yet more powerful, e.g. the use of the unexpected, the word that one throws in at the end of the sentence that one wasn't expected. It's far better than using a vulgar, vile word or the name of God in some shape or form. So, the Church actually asks us in the liturgy itself to be aware of it. How? Because even to this day, in the renewed Missal, it's still there. The priest is, it's in the general instruction, to make an inclination of the head in the liturgy at 3 occasions. 4 actually. Well, I think the 3 first ones are maintained, and I forget if the second one, the last one of all, is maintained. It wasn't until the changes, but the other 3 are. One is, each time that the Holy Name of Jesus comes in, the priest is to make an inclination of the head while saying Mass. Also, when the Holy Name of Mary is, that's still there, I think. And the third one certainly is, when the name of the saint of the day is, there's also an inclination of the head done by the priest. Now the other one, that of the Holy Father, the reigning Holy Father, not the bishop, but the reigning Holy Father, that used to be, and I still do it by instinct because it's there in the old Missal. There is also one other one, when the priest is asked to make an inclination of the head. It's when the 3 persons of the Blessed Trinity are mentioned together. Glory be to the Father and so on. That's when they're actually to be honoured by physically showing that God is in command. The body enters into it. So, it's also ingrained in our Catholic instinct in Ireland to do the same thing as lay people, because it's still there, The holy name, one makes that slight bow of the head just to honour Jesus and to make reparation precisely for the abuse of it. But there's also another side. The Lord himself does insist on the power of prayer made in his name. Casting out demons in his name, praying in his name, and he will honour that with interceding for us. And he does promise that those prayers are heard. So there's a power in the name for good. And we know from exorcism that that's the one thing the devil cannot bring himself to say. He will not say either the name of Jesus or that of Mary. He'll use some other way of getting round it, usually pretty nasty. The very name hurts the demon. And this is the name we abuse. With regard to the question of the specificity of this saint, it's kind of important for us Catholics because we're over-sacramentalized and undernourished by the Word. The instinct is to go into liturgy and not to be aware of the centrality also of sermon. It's not well done, usually, in Ireland on a weekly basis because people have got into a mode of intolerance. The priest finds quite often if he's preaching, if he goes on, notice, for more than 5 minutes, people become agitated. Their body language shows that they want him to wind up. And if he goes on for more than 10 minutes, you will find that body language becoming pretty clear. What can he do? Okay, he'll follow their wishes. Result, very little serious, in-depth preaching over the whole of this time. Is it not true? Now what's that going to do? Where are they getting their sermons? I'll tell you where. RTE, the pulpit of the devil. How easy these referenda have come in because people are taking as their norm the accepted truth, which is politically correct. And very little is able to be said now in the pulpit. And if certain things are said, something else will be said to counteract it, and the bishop will be informed. There are ways and means of silencing a priest who has the itch to say things which are not politically correct. Who's in charge? I'll tell you who's in charge. The enemy of our souls, the enemy of the Catholic Church, one who knows exactly how to strike effectively. He never sleeps, and we quite happily switch off and switch on to the other thing, the Garden box, and far worse by now, by the way, the Doodle box. So, what's happening? While we calmly doze, souls at the rate of 2 a second are going into the beyond all over the planet, of which only a very small proportion are in any way prepared. Why? They're drugged and morphined to sleep by what's convenient, the norm of what is told them all the time on the airwaves. Very little exposure to the hard truths that these saints were able freely to proclaim and which formed generations and generations up until about 40 years ago in Ireland of people who knew what the faith was and knew what mattered in life, getting home safe and sound. Now what do we have at a funeral? Automatic beatification of everyone, presumption that is already there, and worse, a whole plethora of the profane in the Church of God. Happy, clappy songs, where even at the moment of handing on a soul to the judge and the author of life, we're proclaiming that judgment in his name, saying that he's already there, and excluding God from his own church by disobeying the will of the church, by introducing profane singing, clapping, and all that goes with it. As it were, atheists in prayer, as though God did not exist. The house of God becoming a place of human enjoyment. I conclude, we are far removed from the likes of St Bernardine of Siena, who went around warning people about what he used to call Casa Calda, the hot house.